When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
All right, hello YouTube. Welcome back to the Grease Comedy YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Concerns, worries, should we have those on this new TV show? There's been a lot of things that have come out about House of the Dragon that haven't been so positive. And when you take a step back and you look at some of the people that are the main producers of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, you start to have some concerns. If you look at HBO on their main page for Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, it says, a century before the events of Game of Thrones, there was Sir Duncan the Tall and his squire Egg, executive produced by George R. R. Martin, Ira Parker, Ryan Condal, and Vince Giraudis. So, again, I did a little bit of a Google search, and every one of these people in here was involved with House of the Dragon. Ryan Condal is the notorious one, given his and George R. R. Martin's feels like their fallout. Does that worry me? Yes, that worries me quite a lot. All the main and co-producers coming from House of the Dragon, the success of season 1, basically are coming over and co-producing A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. That is very worrisome given what this story is and what House of the Dragon is, and some of the issues with that story. And so when you think about A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, there are a lot of people that are involved with it that were involved with House of the Dragon. And House of the Dragon took a dramatic fall in season 2, in my opinion, from the quality of season 1. I think that they have not really respected the source material much at all. And now you have Knight of the Seven Kingdoms where the roadmap is there. There's no excuses for, oh, this is a unreliable narrator or whatever, right? And so a part of me is quite worried because HBO has lost all trust with me that they can do any type of Song of Ice and Fire project correctly. And I still have hope for Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm going to watch it because I think it will be pretty good. But there are those concerns, right? But before we get a little deeper into this topic, if you did want to consider becoming a member, you do get videos early and an extra video each week. And also thank you to my patrons and members already. If you did want to become one, consider that. So if you think about what's going on right now, and you look at the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, it's a story in which it's much more self-contained. It's a story where you have all the dialogue there. You have all the events are already there. And so what I could see HBO doing, which I'm not exactly thrilled with, is inserting, once again, that this show needs to be connected to House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. And how do you do that? There's a character already written into this story that seems to have dreams that maybe prophesize the future, right? And that being Daeron the Drunken. This is the older brother of Egg, or one of the main characters of this show, and the eldest son of Maekar Targaryen. He is being set up, in my opinion, and I think it's likely, I hope not, but if they're going to keep doing what they've been doing, it's going to be very Helena-esque, right? Where he's going to be seeing things, all that stuff. Hopefully that's not the case, right? I don't think this show should have any connection to the White Walkers. I don't think this show should have any connection to really Aegon's dream whatsoever. This show should not really be magical. It's not about that. This story is much more about the common people, the struggles they go through, and maybe the corruptness of the world that George R. R. Martin has created. And so you don't have to worry about things like the dragons. The dragons are gone by this point of the story in the history of A World of Ice and Fire. And you also don't have to really worry about big battles. There really are no big battles in the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms book or novellas. There are, little skirmishes, but those are much more self-contained. I would think about something like Brienne versus the Hound in season 4. There'll be a lot of stuff like that within the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Or if you think about in season 1, the tournament that we have for the Hands tourney, there'll be something like that as well in the first season. And that will take up a bit of budget, but it's nothing like insane compared to trying to do dragon fights like they did in House of the Dragon season 2. So a lot of the excuses that I think people that defend the show and even what Ryan Condal has said for excuses are not present here. There shouldn't be any issues with budget, or at least not that much, that it's harming the product and people use it as an excuse. There is a complete story right now for the first season of what they're going to tackle. There's a full season. You don't need to create stuff unless you're going to add supplemental content. I think a great idea would be to add in extra scenes of like Maekar and Baelor or Aerion Brightflame, just giving us more characters that are going to be involved with this actual story, but not having them take over the story and where it focuses away from Duncan and Egg. Those are the main characters. There's just maybe some supplemental stuff. So, for instance, the way I would look at this is like Robert Baratheon in season one, right? We don't see a lot of these Robert Baratheon scenes that are in the show. They would have been like off page, for instance, and they're very believable. But that never took the precedent over, for instance, Ned's scenes or Daenerys's scenes or Jon's scenes. They were there were scenes there that was to fill out the world and build our characters. And so that's what I want them to do, right? If you're gonna change things from A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, make it be changes on things that we didn't see in the book, but could have been happening all the same, right? And I think A Night of the Seven Kingdoms doesn't need to be changed really at all, right? Fire and Blood, I make sense why they make certain changes because, you have a story that isn't the easiest to adapt to television. I still don't think it's as hard as, Ryan Connell's making it out to be because he is screwing up his own continuity of the story. But with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, that's just not there. Everything is perfectly there for you. I think if you are a book fan, you will be much more critical if HBO starts changing things for Night of the Seven Kingdoms than you will be for House of the Dragon, because it's just there's no excuses to be changing things unless it's to adapt the story to television in a better way. So for instance, I always look at Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings kind of went away from some of the Tolkien stuff, right? There's not as much like poems or singing in the movies. They cut out a lot of the journey from the Shire to Rivendell, right? So they cut out the old forest section with Tom Bombadil. They cut out the Barrow Downs section. All of that made sense because it translates to movie better, right? It makes the pacing of the movie better because you don't have 5 to 6 hours to tell this story about the Fellowship of the Ring. So you're going to have to cut out some of that journey. And so unless it's changes like that, where and again, I don't feel like A Night of the Seven Kingdoms needs many changes. The story itself already is really well written. A lot of people in the fandom, including Ricky or Voice of Old Town, who I collab with quite a lot, this is the book that he rates the best written from George R. R. Martin. So that tells you kind of where this show should be. And so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you have worries? Do you have concerns about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and how they're going to adapt it? I think it's perfectly normal to have concerns now. I was somebody that didn't have any concerns about this show really, outside of maybe like how popular would this show be given that it doesn't have dragons. You're not following like the throne and the politics going on. You're just following, like a Mandalorian-esque type show. I was a little maybe worried about that, but because of House of the Dragon, how popular it got in season one, I wasn't as concerned. But I am concerned now. I think it's been twice now that HBO has burned us, A Song of Ice and Fire fans, and we'll see what A Night of the Seven Kingdoms does. I still have some hope for the show. Much more positive about it than I am House of the Dragon anymore. But I've heard also from sources that what they've seen so far, I've heard so far, seems pretty good to the normal story of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So I'm excited to see what we get. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.